Time does not negotiate. It doesn't stop because you hesitate. It doesn't slow because you're afraid. And it never refunds what you let slip away. That is the ache you already know. But here is the surprise most people never let themselves believe. The shift you're waiting for does not require the calendar's permission. Real change can happen in less than an instant. At the exact moment you decide to step out of the stream and stand at the still point from which all motion begins. We have been trained to see transformation as a mountain to be climbed. One weary step after another, uphill forever. When, in truth, every mountain hides a narrow door. That door is not opened by force or by time. It opens to resonance. The future you think would take years to build already exists as possibility. The question is whether you will become the observer who collapses that possibility into your now. If time will pass anyway, which reality are you allowing it to carry you into? You have tasted flashes of this before. A decision that snapped you awake. A breath that untangled an old fear. A realization that rewrote your next chapter before the ink dried on the last. Those moments felt accidental only because you were looking at the swing of the pendulum, back and forth, predictable, hypnotic, instead of the quiet axis from which it hangs. Change doesn't start in the swing. It starts in the stillness that sees. When your mind, your emotion, and your body move into coherence, the identity you've dragged across years can reconfigure in a heartbeat. That is not wishful thinking. It is how living systems respond to alignment. The long road most people choose is not inevitable. It is familiar. We trust difficulty more than ease, and so we keep collapsing the reality we expect. Struggle. But the hidden door has always been here, and you are closer to it than your next excuse. Here is the promise of this journey. I will show you how to live from that axis. We will step beyond linear effort and into the mechanics of resonance. How to tune your state so precisely that the life you desire recognizes you without being chased. We will dismantle the myth that you need years to become someone new and replace it with a practice you can feel in your chest before this video ends. Not a ritual of hours, not a stack of affirmations, but a single coherent act that fuses breath, feeling, and focus into a command the world cannot ignore. From there, continuity does what clocks cannot. It turns moments of breakthrough into a baseline. You will stop waiting for change to arrive and begin embodying change as you breathe. If this speaks to the part of you that is tired of postponing your own life, anchor the decision now with one simple signal. Comment 111 below. 111 is the mark of alignment and new beginnings. Your way of saying, I choose the still point over the swing. I collapse my future into the present. And if you want the next steps delivered without friction, subscribe now. What follows will give you language, tools, and a lived pathway to turn instant shifts into your new normal. We are taught to measure transformation with calendars and checklists, to award merit badges for endurance as though time itself were the sculptor of the soul. Yet time does not mold you. State does. What you repeatedly embody becomes your reality, regardless of the minutes you spend discussing it. This is the paradox most never grasp. Change feels slow when identity is left untouched, and it becomes instantaneous the moment identity shifts. Physics offers a mirror for this truth. In the quantum model, possibilities coexist until an observation selects one. Life behaves similarly. Countless versions of you are latent within your field of choice, and the you that steps forward is the one your attention keeps observing as real. The future is not waiting at the top of some distant staircase. It is hovering at your shoulder, asking which version you will authorize now. This is why effort can exhaust you without moving you. You can take 1,000 steps while secretly believing nothing will change, and reality will politely confirm your belief. Expectation is not a mood. It is a command to the field. When you expect difficulty, you organize perception around obstacles. When you expect immediacy, you begin noticing the narrow doors that the trudging mind edits out. Expectation is the lens that collapses a timeline. Most people don't choose a long road because a short one doesn't exist. They choose it because they trust suffering more than alignment. Pain feels honest, ease feels suspicious. But fidelity to hardship is not virtue, it is merely familiarity. The universe is not bribed by how hard you try. It responds to how coherent you are. Neuroscience quietly agrees. The brain is not a granite monument, it is adaptive circuitry. When thought, emotion, and physiology synchronize, new neural pathways imprint at once. Identity is a network of rehearsed signals, not a prison wall. The moment your inner signals harmonize around a new truth, I am safe to change. I can live the end from the beginning. I choose clarity over chaos. Your nervous system stops scanning for the old threat and starts broadcasting a new baseline. From the outside, this looks like luck. From the inside, it feels like gravity flipping direction. The struggle to push reality uphill dissolves, and life begins rolling toward you with quiet inevitability. Nothing out there needed to budge first. Your broadcast changed, so your world complied. Isn't this magical thinking? Only if you confuse language with process. Think of memory. Recall a frightening moment and your body obeys at once. Heart rate climbs, breath shortens, muscles brace. The event is not happening, yet your biology behaves as if it is. If your system can instantly embody fear from a thought, it can instantly embody peace or power when you supply them with equal vividness. This is not a pep talk. It is basic physiology. The body does not ask whether the source is past, present, or imagined. It responds to coherence. Your true prayer is not what your lips say. It is what your nervous system repeats. The loop you rehearse becomes the life you inhabit. Here is the hinge upon which timelines swing. Decision. Not the anemic decision of "I'll try," but the muscular decision that changes what you will no longer sponsor with your attention. A clean decision edits your reality tunnel. You stop feeding certain narratives. You stop auditioning for certain rooms. You stop buying tickets to certain storms. And because attention is the currency of existence, what you defund begins to starve. People call this letting go, but it is more precise to call it reallocation. You reallocate energy toward the version of you that already matches your desired end. The longer you postpone the decision, the more you train your nervous system to equate waiting with safety. The moment you decide, you retrain it to equate alignment with safety. Timelines don't drift. They are chosen. Of course, doubt barges in wearing a lab coat. It asks for proof before participation, forgetting that proof is a byproduct of participation. This is why instant change feels elusive. Not because the field resists you, but because you keep interrupting the signal to ask whether it is working. Imagine planting a seed and digging it up every hour to check the roots. You don't lack fertile soil. You lack stewardship of focus. The field responds to sustained signal, not frantic sampling. The timeline you collapse is the one you can hold in awareness without splintering into negotiation. This is not force. It is fidelity. A soft, unwavering gaze is more powerful than 1,000 anxious stares. To live this paradox wisely, stop worshiping duration and start honoring density. A single minute of high-density presence outweighs a month of distracted striving. Density is created when you integrate 3 layers at once: what you think, what you feel, and how you breathe. Thought supplies direction. Emotion supplies current. Breath stabilizes the transmitter. When these align, your signal becomes unmissable. Opportunities begin to coincide, not because you bullied reality into obedience, but because your broadcast finally matched the station where those opportunities already play. Most call it serendipity. In truth, it is selection. Notice too how the stories you borrow sculpt your timelines. It takes years to heal. Success is a grind. Love must hurt before it lasts. These are not universal laws. They are cultural lullabies that keep you asleep inside acceptable speed. The paradox is not that instant change is rare. It is that instant change is common, while permission for it is rare. Grant yourself that permission. Replace lineage myths with living evidence. The moments you have already shifted in a breath, the scenes that reoriented you in an afternoon, the choices that retired entire identities before dinner. Catalog those proofs. They are not exceptions. They are previews. Finally, ask the question that returns you to authorship. If time will pass anyway, what will it carry you into? You can let it ferry you down the familiar river of almosts. Or you can step to the bank, choose the frequency, and re-enter as a different current entirely. You do not need the world to slow for you. You need to stop outsourcing your access to the world. When you do, the calendar becomes a witness, not a warden. The long road shortens. The mountain reveals its door, and the self you thought required years becomes available in the space of a single, unbroken yes. Picture a pendulum. Your attention, like most people's, keeps staring at the swing. Left, right, left. Because motion is loud and predictable. The swing feels like life. Emails, notifications, mood spikes, old stories, new worries. It convinces you that progress is a matter of momentum. That if you just push harder, think faster, hustle longer, the arc will magically lift you to a different destiny. But pendulums do not transform by swinging wider. They transform by returning to their axis. The axis is the quiet from which movement arises and to which it always returns. It is the still point that doesn't chase, doesn't perform, doesn't negotiate with chaos. And here is the reversal that changes everything. Transformation does not begin in the swing. It begins in the still point that sees the swing without being dragged by it. The swing has a seductive logic. It says, do more, and you will become more. It says, the faster you move, the sooner you'll arrive. Yet the faster you chase, the more you train your nervous system to equate speed with safety. You become addicted to urgency and call it progress. You confuse agitation for aliveness. Meanwhile, the axis waits, unbothered, strong in its simple truth. State before strategy, being before doing, alignment before acceleration. When you inhabit the axis, even for a few breaths, your mind organizes, your emotion steadies, your body finds a natural rhythm, and the very problems that demanded complicated solutions begin to recompose themselves into clear next steps. The world did not change in those seconds. You did. And when you change at the level of axis, the swing obeys. The still point is not passivity. It is precision. From the axis, you can see the whole pattern at once. You notice what triggers the swing and what strengthens it. You notice how certain conversations are rehearsals of the same script, how certain rooms ask you to shrink, how certain goals are disguises for the need to be seen. You recognize that much of what you called discipline was actually self-punishment, and much of what you called patience was actually fear dressed as virtue. The axis frees you from those costumes by returning you to a truth so simple it is almost embarrassing to admit. You are not a passenger of your state. You are its architect. Architecture demands quiet measurement before any hammer is lifted. The axis gives you that quiet in the middle of noise. To find this point, you do not need a monastery. You need one uncompromising choice: pause before propulsion. In everyday life, this looks like a small, sacred gap inserted between stimulus and response. The message arrives. You do not sprint to justify yourself. The craving surges. You do not let it rent your hands. The fear speaks. You do not hand it the microphone. You let your attention fall, even briefly, into the center of your chest, as if there were an invisible thread dropping from mind to heart, from noise to knowing. In that drop, your breath lengthens by itself. Shoulders loosen without a lecture. Your gaze softens just enough for new options to appear along the edges of your vision. What felt like a single narrow hallway reveals side doors you could not see while sprinting. The axis also dissolves the false drama of either or. When you are stuck in the swing, choices look like cliffs. Leave or stay, leap or freeze, win or lose. From the axis, choices become gradients. You realize you can stay and change the terms, or leave and keep honor, or pause and ask a truer question that makes both previous options irrelevant. The still point returns nuance to a mind that had been flattened by stress. And nuance is not weakness, it is accuracy. Accuracy saves you time that effort cannot. One precise yes from the axis collapses weeks of scattered motion. One clean boundary built in calm prevents 10 future apologies made in panic. You might ask, if the axis is so close, why do I lose it? Because the swing flatters the ego. It gives you a feeling of importance. Look how busy I am. Look how hard I work. Look how much I endure. The axis offers no such drama. It is quiet, and quiet can feel like nothing at first, until you realize it is the only place from which your power is not borrowed. The swing borrows energy from reaction. The axis generates energy from coherence. In reaction, you overspend your vitality on problems that do not belong to you. In coherence, you invest your vitality where it multiplies. This is why minutes spent at the axis feel strangely long and richly productive, while hours spent in the swing evaporate without residue. The body is your quickest instrument for locating the axis. The mind will attempt to debate. The body tells the truth. Ask it simple questions and listen without editing. Where in me is there tightness I keep calling focus? Where is there softness I keep mistaking for weakness? What happens to my jaw, my belly, my breath when I say yes to things I secretly resist? What happens when I say no, where I once would have collapsed? The axis announces itself somatically. Weight in the feet, width across the back, breath that travels the full length of the torso, eyes that take in the whole room instead of staring the problem in the face until it swells. These are not mystical signs. They are the physiology of truth returning. Emotion, too, behaves differently at the axis. In the swing, feelings either run wild or are shoved into storage. At the axis, emotion is information without tyranny. Grief moves like weather and leaves the air washed. Anger rises as a boundary alarm and quiets once the boundary is honored. Joy does not spike and crash, it hums. You stop demanding that any state be permanent and start respecting that all states are messages. That respect ends the war between how I feel and who I am. Who you are is the one who can host every feeling without being evicted by any of them. That is why choices made from the axis have a quality your future self thanks you for. They do not mortgage tomorrow's peace to soothe today's anxiety. Relationships reveal your axis most clearly. The swing seeks validation, proof, performance. It edits the self to stay chosen and then resents the chooser for choosing the edited self. The axis offers presence, boundary, generosity without self-erasure. From the axis, you can say, "I want this," and mean it, and "I do not consent to this," and hold it, without turning either sentence into a courtroom. You no longer negotiate your values for access to affection. You no longer outsource your calm to someone else's behavior. Paradoxically, this steadiness makes intimacy deeper, because intimacy thrives on truth delivered gently and consistently, not on theatrics delivered loudly and rarely. Work and calling also reorder themselves around the axis. In the swing, you chase every opportunity and dilute your signal. From the axis, you become choosy in the holy sense, not picky from fear, but precise from purpose. You stop networking from hunger and start attracting from clarity. Projects that matched a former identity fall away without drama. Tasks you avoided become simple because you are no longer using them to prove anything. Output becomes the overflow of alignment, not compensation for self-doubt. You are not slower, you are straighter. Straight lines look like miracles to those who have only known circles. None of this requires you to abandon ambition or mute your fire. The axis is not the end of movement. It is the engine of right movement. You will still act, speak, build, repair, risk. But the quality changes. Action from the swing is a plea for reality to bless you. Action from the axis is a blessing you bring to reality. Words from the swing try to convince. Words from the axis clarify. Risk from the swing wagers your worth. Risk from the axis expresses it. Repair from the swing begs for peace at any price. Repair from the axis restores peace without selling your center. The outcomes may look similar on a resume, but your nervous system knows the difference, and so does your future. Return, then, to the pendulum one last time. The axis has always been there, motionless, available, patient. Your task is not to hold the swing still. That is its nature and not your job. Your task is to live from the axis so that motion no longer masters you. The more often you touch this still point, the more your life begins to inherit its qualities. Calm that does not collapse under pressure. Clarity that does not need an audience. Courage that does not roar but does not retreat. When you stand here, the mountain's hidden door is not a metaphor. It is an address. From here, you don't climb by exhaustion. You enter by resonance. And as you do, time stops behaving like a wall to scale and starts behaving like a river that carries what you choose to become. Coherence is not a mood. It is the state in which what you think, what you feel, and what your body is doing all agree. When they agree, identity updates in real time. The scattered you that sends mixed signals, "I want change," paired with a nervous system broadcasting threat, goes silent, and a new broadcast takes the helm. In that moment, the field does not ask for your resume of effort, it listens to your signal. This is why some people grind for months and stall while others pivot in a day. The first tries to argue reality into cooperation, the second becomes undeniable to it. Coherence is the power. But power without direction wastes itself. That is where focus enters. Not a clenched jaw or narrowed eyes, but the simple, steady selection of one reality over all competing options. Coherence gathers energy. Focus aims it. Without focus, coherence is a glow. With focus, it becomes a laser. Think for a moment about how quickly the body obeys memory. Recall a time you were startled and watch your heart rate climb. Notice how your breath shortens, how muscles brace without permission. That shift is immediate because the system is coherent around a single story. I'm not safe. Now flip the principle. When you summon gratitude with enough density that your chest actually warms, when your breath lengthens and your shoulders let go, the story becomes, I am resourced right now. The nervous system reorganizes accordingly. The same speed that once delivered fear can deliver power if you create agreement across thought, emotion, and physiology. This is not pretending. It is statecraft. You are training your instrument to play one note cleanly instead of three at once that cancel each other out. The body gives you a meter for coherence called breath. Breath is your metronome. Agitated breath splinters attention. Thin breath tells the brain danger is near. Held breath convinces the body that life is negotiation. Coherent breath, slow even, heart-centered, tells every subsystem to synchronize. Then, emotion adds current. An elevated feeling, gratitude, relief, compassion, moves the charge through you so the signal has energy. Thought supplies the coordinates. Not 1,000 affirmations, but one clear sentence that names your chosen reality in the present tense. When these three line up, the broadcast stabilizes. You become, for those seconds, the future you claim to be. And because reality responds to state, not duration, effects begin now, not later. Why then does change fade? Because scattered focus leaks power. You align for a breath or two, then immediately check for proof, ripping the seed from the soil. Or you hold a clean intention while the body still drums out an old rhythm, and you mistake conceptual agreement for lived coherence. Or you build coherence, but never give it a target, so the energy disperses. The correction is mercifully simple. Stay. Stay with one feeling long enough to saturate the body. Stay with one sentence long enough to keep the mind from negotiating. Stay with one breath pattern long enough to entrain the system. Coherence is achieved in seconds. Stability is earned by staying. Focus is not force, it is fidelity. Force tries to bully attention away from distraction and ends up strengthening the very thing it resists. Fidelity returns, again and again, to what you choose. Consider the difference in questions. Force asks, "Why am I still like this?" and rehearses the past. Fidelity asks, "What am I broadcasting now?" and adjusts. Force tightens the jaw. Fidelity softens the gaze. Force watches the clock. Fidelity watches the signal. You will know you are practicing fidelity when your body feels wide, even as your attention is precise. Like looking at a candle flame while still seeing the room. That width is important. It keeps you from turning focus into tunnel vision, which triggers threat and collapses coherence. There is a practical architecture to make this reliable. First, one target per session. If you aim at abundance, do not smuggle in 5 sub-goals. Name the essence. I live resourced. Second, one emotion that makes the sentence believable to your body. Not ecstasy, too volatile. Choose gratitude, relief, quiet confidence, or simple sufficiency. Third, one breath that your system can repeat without strain, deepening into the heart space. Longer exhale than inhale. Steady cadence. 3 ones. Target, emotion, breath. Hold for 60 to 90 seconds. That seems trivial until you actually do it. Most people cannot hold a single, unbroken signal for 30 seconds at first. This is not a failure. It is training. Your attention is a muscle. Coherence is the weight. Focus is the form. You may worry about doing it right. That anxiety is the swing trying to drag you from the axis. Replace right with clean. Was the breath clean, steady, unforced? Was the emotion clean, felt in the body, not merely named? Was the sentence clean, present, simple, no bargaining words like try, hope, or someday? Clean signals travel farther. Dirty signals, busy, desperate, conditional, scatter. If your mind interrupts with doubt, don't wrestle it, subsume it. Breathe with the doubt in the same cadence. Let gratitude include the doubt without debate. Let your sentence gently reassert itself like a lighthouse repeating the same sweep. The field does not require silence. It requires dominance of one frequency. Understand, too, that coherence changes your relationship with effort. From incoherence, effort is compensation. You work to make up for an unstable signal. From coherence, effort is expression. You act because your interior is already aligned, and action is simply how alignment moves. The same task, sending the email, having the conversation, entering the room, feels categorically different. You are no longer asking external reality to stabilize you. You are bringing stability to it. This flips the power dynamic. Opportunities that once ignored you start recognizing you because your presence stops whispering maybe and starts stating this. People feel the difference before they can explain it. We must also speak about precision, the quiet superpower of focus. Precision is the willingness to remove one word, one behavior, one micro-habit that blurs your signal. The way you check your phone during a promise to yourself. The way you tack on, if it's meant to be, to a commitment you are afraid to own. The way you mentally rehearse worst case while trying to breathe ease. Precision cleans these leaks. Every leak you seal increases the wattage of your broadcast. This is not asceticism, it is engineering. You are tuning an instrument. Buzzes and rattles destroy tone. Take them out kindly, not harshly. Harshness breaks coherence. What about the environment? Coherence is portable, but environments have signatures. Certain rooms entrain you toward stress. Certain voices pull you back into the long road. Strategic exposure matters. Place your body daily where coherence is easiest. Morning light, quiet corners, a walk without your phone. Then carry the state into harder rooms as training, not as a test of worth. If you lose it, do not catastrophize. Shorten the gap between lost and return. That gap, reduced from hours to minutes to breaths, is the metric that proves you are mastering the mechanism. Perfection is irrelevant. Return time is everything. Finally, recognize the handoff that happens when coherence meets focus. You stop signaling for change and start signaling as the reality you chose. That is the hinge between intellectual understanding and embodied causation. From here, the next layer becomes natural, stabilizing the signal so deeply that your body broadcasts it without your constant supervision. That is vibrational encoding, the moment you no longer try to feel different because you are different. And when you reach that threshold, instant stops being an exception and becomes your baseline response to alignment. Vibrational encoding is the moment desire stops being a concept and becomes a signal. It is not a slogan or a mood. It is the lived agreement between your thoughts, your emotions, and your physiology. An agreement so clean that your body begins to broadcast the reality you choose as if it were already here. In ordinary language, this is why a room can feel different when a certain person enters it. Before a word is spoken, the field responds to state, not to argument. Your truest prayer is not what your lips repeat. It is what your nervous system rehearses. When the rehearsal changes, the world has no choice but to listen. You already know the mechanism from its shadow side. Remember a frightening memory, and the body obeys at once. Pulse quickens, breath shortens, muscles brace. The event is not happening, yet your biology behaves as though it were. If fear can be instantly embodied from a thought, so can gratitude, sufficiency, and power, provided you deliver them with equal sensory density. Neuroimaging shows that vividly, imagining a movement activates the same circuits as performing it. The brain updates through rehearsal. The heart, too, participates. Sustained, elevated emotion organizes its rhythm, and the heart's electromagnetic field synchronizes with brain activity, entraining the whole system into coherence. In that coherence, identity can reconfigure in a heartbeat. This is not theatrics. It is design. Think of a radio. Your desired reality is a station already broadcasting. You can own the most beautiful song in theory, affirmations pinned to mirrors, visions carefully worded, and still hear nothing but static because the dial is not tuned. Thought alone turns the knob. Feeling alone raises the volume. Physiology alone powers the speaker. Only when all three align does the melody become audible. You know you are tuning correctly when the body warms as if a small sun has been lit behind the sternum. The breath deepens without being commanded, and the mind becomes simple enough to hold one clean sentence in the present tense. In that minute, you are not trying to become, you are transmitting. Why then does the transmission falter? Because many of us were conditioned to equate safety with struggle. Ease felt suspicious. Rest looked like laziness. Joy required justification. The body learned to idle on cortisol and call it normal. In that chemistry, even elevated thoughts are dragged back down to the familiar. We self-sabotage not because we are weak, but because our biology learned to treat relief as a trap. The repair is not more effort. It is re-encoding ease into the tissues until peace feels like home again. Until the body recognizes calm not as absence of vigilance, but as access to intelligence. Begins small and frequent. Grand vows rarely survive noon. Micro-embodiments accumulate. A single minute, eyes soft, palm on heart, one unbroken breath pattern, one emotion, gratitude or quiet confidence. One sentence stated, as a fact, teaches your system that this signal is safe to keep. Give yourself a daily permission slip. I allow ease to be the energy that moves me. Then prove it somatically. Unclench your jaw, widen your back, lengthen your exhale. Let the body discover that clarity can arrive without adrenaline's whip. When ease is no longer alien, it stops being exiled. Consider the dancer learning a difficult sequence. At first, the mind micromanages. Left foot, right arm, count, correct, repeat. The movement is choppy because cognition is driving. Then one day the body takes the wheel. Timing is felt, not calculated. The dancer is the dance. That crossing is vibrational encoding. Presence, gratitude, alignment. What began as techniques become traits. You are no longer doing coherence. Coherence is doing you. From the outside, it looks like effort vanished. From the inside, it feels like friction did. Precision accelerates this crossing. Encoding is weakened by small leaks. The reflex to check your phone mid-practice, the hedge words you add, I'll try, maybe, if it's meant to be. The habit of visualizing a future while rehearsing a worst-case soundtrack in the background. Remove one leak at a time. Do it kindly. Harshness fractures coherence. Precision is not severity. It is clarity. Each leak sealed increases the wattage of your broadcast, and the world receives you more distinctly because you have stopped sending mixed messages. Encoding also reforms how you love. Broadcast self-rejection, and you will select partners who agree with your broadcast, no matter how eloquent your boundaries sound on paper. Broadcast self-respect and your field begins filtering, not from cynicism, but from resonance. You feel the nervous system settle around sincerity and constrict around performance. You stop auditioning. Your yes gains weight. Your no grows merciful. The relationship that fits this signal does not need to be chased. It recognizes home when it enters the room. Work and purpose reorganize as well. When your baseline becomes, I am resourced, You stop negotiating your worth with output. Opportunities that match the new signal appear by coincidence. Introductions at the right hour, projects that land with clean timing, doors that once required pushing now opening on quiet hinges. You are not manifesting trinkets. You are magnetizing trajectories. The outer pace may look the same. The inner effort has disappeared. You are moved by alignment, not dragged by hunger. Here is a simple architecture to encode reliably. Choose one target, the essence, not the shopping list. I live resourced. I am at peace while performing. I am loved and truthful. Choose one emotion your body can maintain without spike or crash. Gratitude, relief, sufficiency, calm joy. Choose one breath that stabilizes you. Gentle inhales into the heart space, slightly longer exhales, steady cadence. Hold these 3 for 60 to 90 seconds without interruption. That seems short until you practice. You will learn how rare unbroken signal is. Repeat 3 times daily. Continuity beats duration. The measure of progress is not perfection, it is return time. How quickly you come back when you slip. Expect resistance. Old identities will petition for their jobs with persuasive evidence. Do not hold a court, hold a posture. Include the doubt inside the practice. Breathe with it. Wrap it in gratitude. Let your sentence remain the loudest sound without shouting. You are not erasing your history. You are retuning it. In days, you will notice micro shifts. Conversations that once drained you now end sooner. Choices that once knotted your stomach now organize themselves. Rooms that once demanded performance now permit presence. These are not miracles. They are the physics of a clean broadcast. Vibrational encoding is where instant becomes ordinary. You will still act, choose, repair, and build. But action will be expression, not compensation. And because the signal is carried by the body, you will not need constant vigilance to maintain it. Your biology will shoulder the task you used to assign to willpower. From here, a practical question naturally arises. How do you trigger coherence and focus on command, anywhere, in seconds? The answer is disarmingly simple. A one-breath method that fuses thought, emotion, and physiology into a single instruction the field cannot ignore. That is the shortcut we will step into next. There is a doorway so small, the hurried mind steps over it a dozen times a day. It is not a ritual that requires an altar, nor a routine that demands an hour. It is a single act that gathers thought, emotion, and physiology into one instruction the field cannot ignore. When you learn to pass through this doorway on command, the argument with time ends. You stop waiting for change and begin issuing it. Cleanly, quietly, from the axis. The shortcut is disarmingly simple, which is why many miss it. One breath, done properly, with enough density to tip the system. Not theatrical, not strained, not a performance for the heavens. A sober, embodied choice that turns your interior into a transmitter. Begin by setting the body to honesty. Place your palm over the center of your chest as if you were reminding yourself where home is. Let your gaze soften so you see more of the room, not less. Inhale through the nose as though the air is entering directly into the space beneath your hand. Do not inflate the chest with effort. Let the breath slide downward and widen you from the inside. At the top of the inhale, pause. Not a held, white-knuckled pause, but a brief stillness, as if all of life were willing to wait with you. In that still point, call up one elevated emotion your body can actually sustain. Gratitude is reliable, relief is merciful, quiet confidence is steady. Then exhale more slowly than you inhaled. And while the breath leaves, speak a single sentence in the present tense, silently or softly. a sentence your nervous system can believe. I am resourced now. I am safe to be clear. I live as the end I desire. When the exhale finishes, linger for a heartbeat in the emptiness, noticing that the world did not collapse when you released control. This is one breath. If you did it cleanly, you will feel warmth gather behind the sternum, the jaw loosen, the lower belly uncramp, and the mind reduced to one generous line of thought. The axis has answered. One breath is enough to interrupt momentum and reset the swing. 3 in a row, unbroken, begin to encode. The temptation is to turn this into a task list. 10 breaths, 20 mantras, a spreadsheet of compliance. Resist the old religion of strain. Intensity of presence outperforms duration. A single minute of whole-body coherence outruns an hour of distracted effort. Hold the practice inside a narrow frame so your system learns to trust it. One target, one emotion, one sentence, one cadence. Repetition creates continuity, and continuity is what the field reads as reality, not your calendar of attempts. Daily integration matters more than ceremonial peaks. Treat the shortcut as an operating system rather than an event. In the morning, before the world makes its first withdrawal from your attention, run one breath coherence 3 times back to back. This sets the day's broadcast. At midday, when the river of tasks threatens to carry you, step out for 60 seconds and do it again. No apology, no drama, just a quiet return. In the evening, close your account with the same sequence. Let gratitude smooth the nervous system so the night rewires you rather than rehearses the day's alarms. That is 9 breaths total, not a program, an alignment. If you miss a round, do not negotiate with guilt. Measure only the speed of your return. Return time is your truest metric. Design your environment to help you remember. Put a small dot on a laptop corner, on a water bottle, near a door handle, so your hand collides with the cue that says, "One breath now." Tie the practice to transitions. Before you open a message, after you end a call, when you cross a threshold, when you put your keys down. Let ordinary actions become thresholds back to the axis. If you enter a charged conversation, take a single coherence breath before you speak. You will notice how clarity rises and defensiveness loses its script. If you face a decision, breathe once as the person who has already chosen well. The answer will often present itself without argument. Troubleshooting is part of mastery. If you cannot feel gratitude on a hard day, do not counterfeit it. Choose relief. Relief is the door that honest gratitude walks through. If the mind keeps shouting, do not fight it. Widen the attention so the shouting becomes a sound inside a larger room. If the body is too agitated to sit, stand and sway a little or walk while breathing. The body sometimes needs to discharge momentum before it can host stillness. If your sentence feels unbelievable, simplify it until the body nods. "I am okay now" will carry farther than a grand declaration your system does not recognize. Clean beats grand every time. Precision will multiply your results. Remove small leaks that blur the signal. The hedging words you add to keep yourself from commitment. The reflex to check a screen in the middle of an inhale. The habit of using the breath to get rid of discomfort rather than to host it kindly. The breath is not anesthesia. It is authority. It does not erase feeling. It gives feeling a container that prevents it from running the room. Carry this authority into behavior. After coherence, act once in alignment. Send the message you were avoiding. Decline the invitation that dilutes you. Begin the page you promised to write. Action seals state. State without action evaporates. Action without state exhausts. The shortcut binds them so they reinforce each other. Notice how quickly the world mirrors even modest continuity. Conversations land in fewer words. The right sentence arrives while you are breathing instead of hours later in the shower. Doors that once required persuasion open with simple clarity because your presence no longer whispers, maybe. It communicates a frequency. Others may call it luck, timing, favor. Name it precisely. Coherence held long enough to become obvious. You did not bend reality by force. You became easy to meet. There will be lapses. Old identities will file appeals. This is not failure, it is physics. Reduce the gap between forgetting and remembering. At first, it may take a day to return, then an hour, then 5 breaths, then 1. That contraction of return time is how you know the shortcut is becoming native. You are training the body to keep the state without requiring constant supervision by the mind. That is the cusp where practice turns into posture and posture into baseline. From there, results arrive in ways that do not feel like miracles. They feel like the natural behavior of a system that finally agrees with itself. Hold one more truth as you integrate. The shortcut is not a trick to outpace life. It is a way to match the place where life actually happens, here. In this breath, in this sentence, in this body that is willing to be honest. When you live this way, speed stops being the fascination. Something quieter takes its place. A felt sense that you have stepped out of the countdown and into a steadiness that does not consult the clock before it blesses you. That is the threshold of the final chapter, where we move beyond acceleration altogether and learn to inhabit the only power time cannot touch: timelessness. Let us gather the threads and weave them into a single garment you can wear tomorrow morning. Time will not pause for your hesitation. It will continue its merciless glide whether you act or not. That is the first truth. The second truth is kinder and far more powerful. Transformation does not require time when state changes now. We challenged the superstition of the long road and replaced it with authorship, choosing which version of you time will be allowed to carry forward. We moved from the noisy swing of reactivity to the quiet axis of awareness, where movement is no longer a demand you place on yourself, but an expression of who you have become. We clarified the hidden mechanism. Coherence gathers power, focus directs it. And we learned to make that power live in the body through vibrational encoding until alignment stops being a performance and becomes your baseline. Then we collapsed the whole architecture into a single, repeatable act, a one-breath shortcut that returns you to authorship in seconds. What remains is not speed, but sovereignty, not rushing, but residence. The final turn is to step out of time's competition entirely and live from the only place creation ever occurs, the unnegotiated now. Timelessness is not the absence of clocks. It is the absence of inner countdowns. It is the shift from "when will it happen" to "this is the frequency I live." Paradoxically, when you stop measuring your worth against a calendar, results accelerate because you are no longer broadcasting the vibration of waiting. You inhabit completion, not as fantasy, but as physiology. In this posture, desire softens from grasping into guidance. You do not chase outcomes. You enact identity. Your actions become the natural gestures of a person who already is what they once begged time to make them. This is why flow states feel both eternal and exquisitely productive. The prefrontal storyteller that obsesses over minutes goes quiet, and the system moves as one organism with one aim. The world calls it luck. Your body recognizes it as coherence without friction. Living timelessly is startlingly practical. You will still schedule meetings, fold laundry, answer messages, pay bills. The difference is that you are no longer outsourcing your axis to any of those tasks. You bring the axis with you. Before the first conversation, you take one coherent breath and choose the sentence you want your nervous system to broadcast. Before a decision, you breathe as the person who has already chosen well and let the body register relief in advance. Before rest, you give thanks with enough density that the night rewires you instead of rehearsing alarms. This is not grand ritual. It is humble constancy. You are carving a canyon through stone, one drop at a time, until the river of your days flows in the channel you designed. The metric that matters now is not perfection, but return time. How quickly you come home when you drift. Returning in 5 breaths rather than 5 hours is what mastery looks like from the inside. Timelessness also gentles your ambition without shrinking it. Goals remain, but they stop auditioning for your identity. You pursue them from sufficiency rather than deficit, which curiously makes you bolder. You negotiate less with anxiety and more with facts. You say fewer words that mean more. You withdraw your energy from performances that once purchased approval and redirect it toward work that compounds. The calendar still fills, but the body does not fray, because effort is no longer compensation for incoherence. It is expression of alignment. You become precise in the most dignified way. You remove leaks. One hedge word, one nervous scroll, one apologetic yes at a time, until your presence is a clear frequency. People feel it. Doors that once required insistence open because your signal no longer whispers, maybe. Relationships mature in the same light. The timeless heart does not bargain for belonging. It offers clarity without theater and boundary without threat. You stop collapsing your peace to keep company and discover that the company you truly want is drawn to peace, not to performance. You recognize sincerity somatically, how your breath lengthens in its presence, and you stop confusing volatility with depth. In conflict, you repair from the axis instead of from the swing. You tell the truth without rehearsed indictments. You listen without waiting to retaliate. You apologize without self-erasure. Intimacy grows because it can finally rest on something sturdier than adrenaline: mutual coherence. If doubt rises, and it will because you are human, you do not hold a trial. You hold a posture. Include the doubt in the breath. Wrap it in gratitude. Let the sentence you chose remain the dominant frequency, not by volume, but by fidelity. You are not trying to silence your history. You are teaching it a new key. Over days, evidence accumulates. Tasks land with less friction. Synchronicities tighten their timing. Fatigue that once arrived by noon now arrives after the work is done. These are not lucky streaks. They are the visible behavior of an interior that has stopped arguing with itself. There is a tenderness to living this way. You do not despise the hours you used to fear. Time becomes a witness rather than a warden. It records who you chose to be and multiplies it. This softens your gaze toward others as well. You will notice fewer mistakes and more states. Instead of asking, why are they like that? You will wonder, what are they broadcasting, and how can my steadiness help? In this sense, timelessness is not private advantage. It is public service. A coherent human is a lighthouse. Your calm narrows the options for harm in rooms you enter. Your clarity shortens meetings. Your kindness untangles spirals. Your boundaries end rehearsals of old pain. This is not mystical heroism. It is the predictable influence of a system that has stopped leaking. So here is the benediction and the assignment, wrapped together. Keep the practice small and the presence full. 1 breath before beginnings, One breath inside thresholds. One breath to close. Choose one sentence your body believes and let it become the headline of your day. Seal it with one action that expresses it. Measure only return time. Remove one leak at a time. Bless your past for teaching you precision. Refuse to mortgage your peace for speed. And when you forget, because you will, come back without ceremony. The door was never locked. If you live like this for a season, something odd will happen. Miracle will stop being your word for what unfolds. You will call it Tuesday. The extraordinary will feel ordinary, not because wonder has dimmed, but because you finally inhabit the place where wonder is native. The timeless present where choice is causal and coherence is law. From there, you do not chase a future. You host it. You do not wait for permission. You are the permission. And as time continues its impartial march, it will carry forward exactly what you place in its hands. Not the exhaustion of trying to arrive, but the steady music of someone who has.